Hey Money Nerds, today we're going to be going over a financial reset so you can start the new year off on a right direction and on the right foot. And we're going to do this over 8 days. So we're going to do an 8-day challenge to help you get back on track. So let's go ahead and dive into an overview of the 8 days. We're going to be focusing on easy, quick win tasks that you can accomplish that don't take up too much time. I know you're busy, and so these are going to be designed to help you do something that's a little bit more sustainable and manageable and not get overwhelmed. So let's go ahead and dive in. Day number 1. The first thing we're going to be doing on this day is a money snapshot. Now, it's important here that we don't use a lot of judgment against ourselves and we stay very patient and kind and graceful because we need to see where you're starting. We need to see what's going on in your financial life so that we can get a good plan moving forward. So what we're doing in this snapshot is we're looking at really basic numbers that I find oftentimes we overlook or ignore because it's a little bit intimidating. So the first number we're going to look at is your checking account balance. I know this might seem a little bit scary, especially if you're a credit card user. Your balance in your checking might be very low, or it might be abnormally high because you do carry a balance on your credit card, and so you pay it off every month, hopefully. That could be the case, but either way, you're going to write down your checking account balance. If you have multiple checking accounts, you're going to do the same exact thing. The next thing that we're going to write down is any savings account balances. Now, this is important because we want to see exactly how much money you have set aside for your future. Now, oftentimes, one of the more depressing numbers for a lot of people is the credit card balances. But again, we're not judging, we're just writing this down, okay? It's just a snapshot. After we have that written down, then we're going to look at all debt balances. Now, this would be stuff including student loans, any personal loans, any Klarna, Affirm, any of those types of debts where sometimes you forget about them, or even if you owe a family member money, maybe you borrowed $5,000 from your grandma years ago and you need to be paying that back, that is also considered debt. You're going to write that down. And same thing with medical debt too. So we're going to write down all debt balances just so we can see kind of where you're starting. And then we're going to write down all of your investments. Now, the investment piece, what we're looking for here is what is the actual value as of that day. Investments fluctuate a lot, right? They go up and they go down and they change quite a bit. But we're looking for just the basics of how much of your investments, what is it worth as of that day for that snapshot. Now, again, we're saying that this is no judgment because I want you to just get a good idea, get your head out of the sand and see where you're sitting, which can be scary, it can be overwhelming, but it is a really big deal. So we're going to have everything listed in front of us so that we can start to make some decisions moving forward. And again, this is not a report card. This is just information for you. So that's what we're focusing on in day 1. And if you need a bevy after that, I totally get it. Day 2 is all about simplifying. We're going to simplify one thing. So here are some examples. I'm going to give you some tasks that you might decide to simplify with. Closing an unused account. Maybe there's something that you've been paying for every month and you kind of forgot about, but when you're looking at all of your transactions or you're using an app like Rocket Money, which I think is really helpful for this, it'll show you all of your different subscriptions listed out. You can go through and say, I'm going to close these subscriptions because I'm not really using it or I'm not getting value from it like I used to. The next thing that you can do is switch to one main credit card instead of having 5 or 6 different ones. Now, there's nothing wrong with credit card hacking if you're responsible and you're doing it in a good, healthy way. But what I find is a lot of people are just kind of spreading out their credit cards and they'll put a little bit on this one and this one and this one and this one. And then you have to remember to go make all the minimum payments and pay off all the balances on all of the different cards. And it's not hard, but it's not a simple system either. So this can be a little bit more streamlined if you just start to use one singular credit card. Now, again, my caveat here is if you're using credit cards responsibly. If you're not, then the next thing to do would be to move all of your charges that are going onto your credit card directly to your debit card. So this is the alternative situation if you have credit card troubles. That way you're not getting yourself into a deeper hole and you're starting to see a little bit more responsibility and accountability, and you're going to start making decisions differently. Again, day 2 is all about simplifying. So just choose one thing in general that can simplify your life and make it a little bit easier. The whole goal here is we're reducing that mental load. Day 3 is one of my favorite days because this is the emergency fund reset. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to set a target and aim for 1 month of living expenses in a high yield savings account separate from your checking account. That's the important piece here. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna just tally up how much do you need to survive on a normal basis. And you're gonna write down everything that you have. If you have a budget, this makes it really easy. So then you can start to just list everything out. Once you have it all listed out, then we can start to say, what is truly an essential? Like if crap hit the fan, what would I alleviate or what would I cut out? For me personally, I would not be paying for Netflix or Hulu or any subscriptions because that wouldn't be my priority in the moment. So that's one of the things that you get to decide what's normal for you. So you're going to just go ahead and tally up how much does it cost for you to survive for 1 month. If it's $10,000, that's how much we want to aim for a starter emergency fund, again, in a high yield savings account. And what you can start doing to help this become easier all during day 3 is setting up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account every single month. So this is happening on autopilot and you don't even really have to think about it. That's the important piece that makes it so much easier. And again, the whole thing here, we're trying to simplify and give you a good reset. I still come across people that don't do this and it is mind-boggling to me because it is such an easy step. Even if it's only $25 a month, something is better than nothing. So just go ahead and set up that automatic transfer so that you're starting to build up your savings without having to work extra hard or take on that extra mental load of remembering to do all of that stuff. The important piece here and the reframe I want you to adopt when it comes to your emergency fund is this is future peace. It's not boring money. This is giving you peace of mind later when something does come up. You'll be really glad you have that money. Okay, day 4, we're gonna start to automate your growth and your net worth. And the best way to do this is to auto set up, auto contribute to your investment accounts. Now this is something where if you have an employer that has a 401k or a 403b, this is actually quite easy. A lot of times it's just an opted box where you can just elect to start investing. You would have to select how much percentage-wise you want to start investing. But if you're not investing into your 401k or a 403b, just start with something. Even if it's 5%, we can obviously work you up to a larger amount. But the important piece here is that it's happening automatically and that it's intentional and thoughtful. And this is not a hard task to do. If you can afford it, investing the full amount to get your contribution. So usually with the 401k, your employer will match your contributions, either 50% or 100%. You want to at least get that free money if possible. But I recognize if you're not doing that currently, and you start to invest all this money, you're gonna feel super broke when you get your paychecks. So easing into it is totally fine too. The important piece is that you're prioritizing it and you're starting to build your wealth automatically and automating your growth. And just remind yourself, you don't need to outsmart money, you just need to stay consistent. And day 5 is all about debt or drain checks. Now, I'm not talking about the drains in your bathroom, although you probably should check those because I bet they're pretty nasty. The task that we're working on for day 5 is identifying one area of your life that's kind of a stressor. It's something that's really been bugging you for a while, and just anytime you think about your money or your finances, it just kind of irks you or pisses you off. That's what we're going to be focusing on today. We're going to create a simple next step list of what you can do to tackle that stressor or that annoying task. So this could be something as simple as paying off a credit card. And I say simple because the process is simple. I know it can take some time and it can be a little bit overwhelming, but having a plan to tackle that will be really helpful if that's the thing that's been annoying you most. Or maybe you're constantly overdrafting your account and you're like, I'm so tired of this. This is annoying. It's costing me a ton of money. I don't really have the money for $35 to $50 overdraft fees. It could be something that you start to tackle too. My tip for that one, if that is your situation, is to embrace a checking account buffer. And this is like a minimum balance that you always have in your checking account. So anytime you log in, let's say it's like a $500 buffer or $100 buffer, you will always have at least that money in your checking account. And so if you happen to tap into that, you know you have to replenish that when you get your next paycheck. That will prevent a lot of that overdraft stuff, but having a plan to really understand why you're overdrafting would be really important here. Another thing is incorporating spending boundaries. This is AKA a budget, right? So if you have issues with buying coffee all the time, then you can start to have a boundary around how much you choose to spend on coffee so that your money is healthy and, again, intentional. I think this is like the year of intentionality, so I really hope that that is something that you're embracing as well. Okay, day 6 is a fun day. We're going to start to have a life joy fund. Now, what this looks like is it's a simple generic savings account that goes to things that are exciting or fulfilling to you. Now, this can be things like travel or maybe a new car. It could be family memories or experiences or concert funds. Whatever is exciting to you, you're going to create a specific savings account for that joy. And that is where you can start to have permission to spend without guilt. When you have that money, it's so much easier to say yes to things and not feel that pressure of like, oh my gosh, I should have put this towards my debt or I should have put it towards something else. It gives you permission to enjoy your money and not always be so buckled down and so focused on things that sometimes aren't that exciting. Life still happens. We still can have fun while we're paying off debt and investing. And the way to do that is to be intentional and have that savings account where you're starting to fund even $10 a month. It all counts and it all matters, and it's going to take some of that pressure off of you when you have it set up. That life fund is a really important one that gives you permission to enjoy your money. Day 7 is all about defining your 2026 money focus. So I want you to choose one sentence that's going to be almost like your mantra throughout the year or your affirmation to yourself. In 2026, my money is about fill in the blank. What's on your heart? What's on your mind? For me, you can probably tell it's intentionality. It's being thoughtful. So for me, I would say in 2026, my money is about intentionality and thoughtfulness. Yours might be stability and calm, or maybe it's freedom and flexibility. Possibly even memories with family. It could be your financial glow up. I just want you to write this down, make it true to you, not what you think it should say, but make it true for you. And that will be your mantra. Write that down, put it in your office, put it in your bathroom mirror, in your car, on your phone, whatever you have to do so that you remember it and you can revisit this often. Okay, day 8, the last of our financial reset. This one is going to be a little bit harder, and that's why I made it on day 8, is because we really want to get some confidence in our financial steps to build up to this, because this is a tough one for a lot of people. And this is focusing on tough future tasks. What I mean by this is the stuff that you've been procrastinating on that really is truly important for your life. This would be things like scheduling a meeting with an estate planning attorney to make sure you have a will started, or at least the process of a will started. If you have to adjust your will, that could be another thing that you do during this tough future task day. Again, we're not completing the whole step, we're just getting it started so that you can have some type of ball moving down the hill and a little bit of that snowball effect so that you have some momentum. Another thing to do would be checking your investment accounts and making sure that the beneficiaries that you have listed out are still relevant today. There's a lot of people that maybe were married at one time and got divorced and still have their ex on their investment accounts, which I don't know, maybe that's what you want, but likely not. So you want to make sure you're revisiting this stuff and seeing who exactly is your beneficiary. This is really important when you're kind of transitioning from your 20s to your 30s or 20s to getting married or whatever it might be. What I find is a lot of people will have their parents as their beneficiary, and then they get married and they start having kids and they forgot to change that, when realistically you would probably want your spouse or even your child to be the beneficiary, no longer your parents. But that's why it is important to just look at this and make sure that you are revisiting the beneficiaries. That could be another thing that you do. This would also include life insurance policies, so definitely check those too. Another thing that you might do if you haven't yet during this tough future task day is setting up your living will, your healthcare advance directive, and that would typically include your medical power of attorney, so that in the event that you're incapacitated, somebody that you trust and stand by and say, this is the person I want to make decisions for me, can legally do that. Once you have that paperwork, then For Idaho is where I live. So what I had to do when I was pregnant, I did all of this work because I was a little bit nervous and I had a bit of a high risk pregnancy. So I was trying to just like cover all my boxes and make sure that everything was okay. So what I did is I went through all that paperwork. It was really not that hard. Some of it was a little bit hard to understand, so I did have to ask some questions to my doctor. And then once that was completed, then I filed it through Idaho's directory site, which I found mine through Idaho Department of Health and Welfare. Your state is probably very similar, so definitely go through the advanced directory site and not necessarily through like the hospital. That's a good place to start, but you want to make sure it's like a statewide directory so that anybody has access to that in the event that they need to. That one's not a very fun one, but it is a very important one. Okay, so that is it. That is our 8-day financial reset. I really hope that you apply this information to your life and use it to just have a little bit of spark to boost up your confidence and to show yourself that money doesn't have to be hard. It can be a little scary. That's pretty normal, but we're doing this together. Let's go through this 8-day reset, and I promise you've got this. If you need any help, feel free to reach out on Instagram. I'm at Whitney_Hansen_co, and I will see you next week for another episode of the Money Nerds podcast. Bye.